So for the rectangular prism, this one is the only one that you could choose to decide which rectangle is your base. So when I worked this question out, I actually used the top and the bottom as my two base rectangles. So the dimensions of my base was a 5 by 12. So I went ahead and found the perimeter and the area of that base. The perimeter, I did the calculations right here. And then the base, 5 times 12, and it was 60. Now I can go back and actually put them into my formulas. Notice up here in the top corner of my screen, these are the formulas for prisms. Lateral area is perimeter times height, and then total area, or also known as surface area, is 2 times the base area plus the lateral area. Now if you've already calculated the perimeter, remember lateral area is perimeter times height. So that's what I did over here. I used these formulas for numbers 1 and number 2. Everybody good on 1 and 2? All right, so for number 3 and 4, this one was a little bit more challenging, but not too bad, because notice my base shape is actually a right triangle. Again, the base is what you have 2 of. I have 2 triangles. Now I did need to either realize that my base triangle was a triple. So to find this missing side over here, if you realized it was the 3, 4, 5, you could just put 5. If not, then what you would have had to have done is Pythagorean theorem, 3 squared plus 4 squared equals that side squared, we can call it c squared, because it is the hypotenuse, and then get 9 plus 16, add that, square root it, and that's how you can also get the 5. A lot of times the triples are going to appear. So that's why it may be beneficial if you memorize those triples. So again, for lateral area of a prism, it's perimeter times height. So now that I found the missing 5, I can find my perimeter, and it's 12. And then the base area, remember base times height, so 3 times 4 times half, or divide by 2, and it's 6. Now that I have perimeter and base calculated, I can just plug them into the formulas. So the lateral area of this prism is 240 units squared, and the total area or surface area is 252 units squared. Everybody good? All right, let's go on. Now, this one was a bit challenging. Now, on this one, what was left off was, I didn't tell you that it was an equilateral triangle. Remember, to use any of these formulas, it has to be a regular pyramid. So for this one, they gave us the height and they gave us what K equals. And K was actually our apothem. So what I could do here is I needed to find the lateral edge, and I just needed to find different missing pieces. So the lateral edge, or actually my slant height, was actually a triple again. So if you were to draw and make this into a triangle, you could do 3 squared plus 4 squared equals c squared, or notice that the lateral height here is 5. Now, for my base edge, which is, let me go ahead and maybe I'll redraw this. So if I were to take out the bottom triangle, that's what I'll draw over here. It's equilateral, and I need to find how long each one of these congruent sides are. So what I'm going to do is I could put my center point here, draw in some radii, and I can realize that 360 divided by 3 is 120. So I know the measure of the central angle is 120. Now I'm going to flip it around, and I'm just going to pull out this triangle. So this is 120 up here, but I'm going to bisect it. So now this is 60. This is 30. Now, I knew the apothem, and that was or let me call that x. That's going to be 3. So across from 30 is x. Across from the 60 is x root 3. And this is 2x. I really don't need the radius length. I don't need the 2x. But I do need to find how long this side is. So if x is 3, then this piece of my triangle side is 3 root 3. And remember, you got 2 of them because you've bisected it. So now I've got a 3 root 3 and a 3 root 3. So the total length of the side, or the base edge, is going to be 6 square root 3. And that's how we get this. Now, for the lateral edge, now what we're going to do is the lateral edge is this side that's coming down from the top of the triangle. So again, if I already know that this little piece is 3 square root 3, then in order to find it, I could take my slant height here and form a right triangle. And then you're going to do Pythagorean theorem. So then now to find the lateral area, you're going to use the formula 1/2 perimeter times slant height. So then here perimeter, if each side is 6 square root 3 and there's 3 sides, the perimeter is equal to 18 square root 3. And then I times that by the slant height, which was 5, and then divide by 2. Total area, I'm going to find the area of the base, add the lateral area. Now, for my area of my base, I'm going to use this formula. If you recall, area of a polygon is 1/2 apothem times number of sides times side length. Generally, when you think triangle, you're thinking, I'm going to find base times height divided by 2. But in this case, because I already know the apothem and it's 3, and I know that the number of sides in a triangle is 3, and that the side length is 6 square root 3, it's easier to use this formula. So I could take 1/2 of 6, and now just multiply 3 times 3 times 3, and that's my base area, and then I'll add it to the lateral area and get 17 square root 3. Again, the pyramids are definitely more difficult. Now, let me show you one more example of a pyramid, just so we can get some more practice and also using the right triangles. So let me go ahead and add one example. I'm gonna do a square pyramid, and I'm gonna give you the base edge, and I'm giving you the lateral or the slant height. Sorry, this is the slant height. So just to practice this. So for this one, notice that I drew my pyramid and it's a square. All these are congruent. I don't know the height. And technically, I don't need the height yet because I'm not doing volume. But when you watch the video for volume of a pyramid, you need to find the height. So for here, we need to find the lateral edge. And again, remember the lateral edges are these edges that come down from the top, from the vertex point. So if I wanted to do and make a right triangle, I'm going to use my slant height. It's bisecting the side length, so this little piece here is 2. And then I did Pythagorean theorem. And that gives me my lateral edge. For perimeter of a square, all sides are the same. So 4 times 4, my perimeter is 16. Then to find lateral area, I was given the slant height. So all I have to do is take perimeter times slant height and divide it by 2. So that's 40 meters squared. Then total area, take the area of the base. Again, it's a square, so 4 times 4, and add it to your lateral area. So 56 meters squared. So here are the formulas for pyramids. So again, on the next slide, I've actually started a running page here with all of my formulas. Now, over here are your prisms. Over here are your formulas for pyramids, and then cylinders and cones. Notice I've left off and I haven't filled in volume yet because we're going to be covering sections 11.6 and 11.7, and this is where we're going to learn the volume formulas. So tonight, which is due Thursday, you're going to be doing volume of prisms and cylinders, and then 11.7 is going to be volume of cones and pyramids. And then you can add it to this list. Again, the test next week is open notes, so I highly recommend that you have a piece of paper with these formulas written down. It'll be a lot easier if you have them on a piece of paper versus trying to look through your notes to find them. So if you want to put examples next to them, whatever's going to work the best for you. Let's do the warm up for the cylinders and the cones, which is a lot easier. So here, my lateral area for number 1, remember it's 2 pi r height, and that's what I plugged in. Total area, you find the area of the two bases and then add it to the lateral area. So total area is 2b plus LA. So the two answers here for number 1 are 100 pi units squared and 150 pi units squared. Then over here for number 2, this one is 6 pi square root 7 units squared and 14 pi plus 6 pi square root 7. Now, on this one right here, the order that you write the 6, the pi, and the square root 7 doesn't matter. So if you'd rather write 6 square root 7 and then the pi, again, the order of these three does not matter. Now, over here on the total area column, notice I cannot add 14 pi with the 6 pi root 7 because 14 pi does not have the radical. So you would leave it apart. So if it says to leave it in simplest radical form, these would be your answers. Again, just look for the choices when you're taking this multiple choice test. Okay, now for number 3 and number 4, these are cones. So for number 3, it's in red. This is all the work here. So for number 3, the formula for lateral area is pi times the radius times the slant height. And then for total area, it's the area of the base, which is a circle, pi r squared, plus the lateral area. So for number 3, it's 65 pi units squared. And for the total area or surface area, it's 90 pi units squared. And then number 4 is in green. So it's up here in this highlighted. Now, again, we don't need the height yet for surface area, but when you watch the video for volume, you will need to find the height. So again, you may be drawing right triangles, and it may be a special right triangle, or it just may be a right triangle that you'll use Pythagorean theorem. This is actually a triple, so it's an 8, 15, 17. So again, once you found the height, then you could just go back and use your radius and your slant height and just do the two formulas. So that answer here is 136 pi units squared and 200 pi units squared. Any questions on the warm-ups? All right, let's go over the homework. Now I'm going to zoom into each question so you can see it a little bit more clearly. So here is number 1. Pretty straightforward. You just took your given information and plugged it in. Remember the formula for lateral area for a cylinder is 2 pi r height, and then just multiply. Again, the order that you multiply that 2, 4, and 5 doesn't matter. So if it says leave in terms of pi, we don't use our pi button. Now if it says to use your calculator and then round the answer, then you would be using your pi button. Total area here is 72 pi. And these would all be units squared. So no matter what type of area it is, whether it's lateral area, total area, surface area, or just area, the units are always squared. Number 2, 160 pi. And again, units squared, units squared. Number 3, same thing. Plug in your information, 2 pi r height, and you get 24 pi, and then 56 pi. And again, units squared. Number 4, these are units squared. And again, plug in the numbers. Any questions on 1 through 4? Okay, let's move to 6. Now 6, this time they're asking us, they're giving us the lateral area, and they want us to find the radius. So I'm going to take my formula. Remember, lateral area equals 2 pi r height. They just flipped it around, plugged in the 18 pi, which was the lateral area, and then solved for the r. So moved everything away from it. So either 3 over 2 or 1.5. And again, you're using your calculator. Number 8, this time they gave us the total area. So again, you're going to use your formula. So your 2 pi r squared, and here's the formula, and this is TA, or surface area. So they replaced the TA, or the surface area, with the amount that they gave us, and then from there, solved for r. And the next one. Now the cones. So for number 10, they're asking us to find the slant height and then lateral area and total area. So again, if you take out of the cone, so like if this were your cone, you're going to form a right triangle. And again, this is a triple. If again you didn't realize this was a scaled up 3, 4, 5 triangle, then you would have done Pythagorean theorem to find the slant height. And then once you found the slant height, you could find lateral area and total area. Number 11, same thing. You needed to find the height this time, but again, you're still pulling out this same triangle each time. So notice how they've labeled H, R, and L in the picture here. And again, it's a right triangle, so you do Pythagorean theorem, again, if you don't know your triples. Again, a 5, 12, 13 is another common triple. And then once you find everything you need, which you already had it, and then just plug it into the two formulas. Now, number 12, this one is not a triple, so you actually have to use Pythagorean theorem. So you would do 2 squared plus r squared equals 6 squared. Break down the square root of 32. Make it 16 times 2, 4 and 4. I got a pair of 4s, so 4 radical 2. So some of the questions are going to be left in simplest radical form. Some may have decimals. Just read the answer choices. Again, notice on my total area, I could not add the 32 and the 24 because 32 did not have a square root of 2. And then numbers 13 and 14. 13, we were given the slant height and the lateral area. So again, I'm going to put it into that formula and then solve for r. Once I find r, then again, I can do my right triangle. Again, it's a scaled up 3, 4, 5. They times all the sides by 3. Again, if you didn't realize it, you would do Pythagorean theorem. And again, here's total area or surface area. Again, units squared. And then the last one, again, same thing, plug it into that lateral formula, which equals pi RL, solve for the slant height, and again, plug it in to Pythagorean theorem to get the height. And then from there, find the total area. And that was it for the homework. Anybody need me to go back to anything? Any questions? Okay, so what you're going to be doing is, again, what's due on Thursday is 11:06. You're going to complete the notes, turn those into Canvas, complete the homework assignment for 11:06. And then due Friday is going to be 11:07, the notes and the homework. And I'm also going to have you turn in I'm going to probably have you turn in the warm-up. So just look for assignment for that also. But in the meantime, you're working on the notes and the homework for 11:06. If you finish that and want to start 11:07, you can do that. I'll also be getting a review posted for you. So again, the test will be the same situation as the quizzes we've taken, where it'll be on Canvas. However, the last question, you will have to turn in your work. Now, keep in mind when you're doing all of these assignments, don't ask your friends for their notes or their homework assignment. Because if you're going to turn in someone else's homework or someone else's notes, you're going to get a 0 for the assignment, and so will your friend. So please make sure you're doing your own work. Do not share your work, because you don't know if your friend is going to turn in your assignment. I've gotten to where I really can look at assignments and see if it's your writing or not. I've had a whole year of seeing how you write, and when I see someone who normally has sloppy writing and then all of a sudden it's kind of messy, that's a red flag for me. So do your own work, turn in your own homework assignment. Sometimes I catch it, sometimes I don't. So just do your own work. Again, if you have questions in the afternoons, remember from 12:30 to 2:30, that's the time that you should be working on your assignments. And if you have questions, you can email the teachers and they should be able to respond to you within that time period. If not, if it's after that time period, I do check my email and I will get back to you. So if you have questions, email me. But in the meantime, what you're doing between now and Thursday is working on that chapter review. Any questions?